You are 27 years old. You have $312 in your checking account. You work in a marketing department in Cleveland, Ohio. You make $54,000 a year before taxes. After rent, student loans, and the payment on a used Honda you regret, you have $200 left at the end of every month. Sometimes less, sometimes nothing. You have not spoken to your mother about money in 3 years. Not since she told you, calmly, over coffee, that there was no inheritance coming, that you would have to build everything yourself, that this was the family's tradition.
You believed her. Until last Tuesday at 4:47 p.m., when a man with a New York number called your office line and said the words, "Estate of Henrik Lindgren." You said you didn't know who that was. He said the words, "Your grandfather." Level 1. The letter.
You fly to New York 3 days later. You have never been to New York. The lawyer's office is on the 41st floor of a building on Madison Avenue. The lobby has marble that does not feel like marble. It feels like something more expensive. The receptionist offers you sparkling water in a glass that weighs more than your laptop. His name is Mr. Sumner. He is 68 years old. His suit costs more than your annual rent. He has worked for your grandfather for 31 years. He slides a folder across the desk. Inside, a Swiss bank account with $1.4 million liquid. A 3-bedroom apartment on the Upper West Side worth $1.8 million. A house in the Berkshires, fully paid. Investment accounts totaling $620,000. Approximate net total to you, after taxes and fees, $2.04 million. You ask the only question you have. Why didn't I know him?
Mr. Sumner closes the folder. He says, "Your mother chose that. He chose to respect it. Until now." Level 2. The name. Henrik Lindgren was born in 1938 in a town in Minnesota you have never heard of. He moved to New York at 22 with a degree in mathematics and $400. By 35, he was a partner at a small investment firm. By 47, he had founded his own. He was rich. Not Wall Street rich, not headlines rich. Quietly rich. The kind of rich that does not show up in magazines. He had one daughter, your mother. He had one son, who died in a car accident in 1979 at the age of 17. After that, your grandfather changed. Your mother does not talk about it. In 1991, when your mother was 22, she cut him off completely. She moved to Cleveland. She married a man who taught middle school. She raised you in a house with one bathroom and a Toyota Camry that lasted 14 years. She never asked her father for help. She never told you he existed. Level 3. The search. You go back to the hotel. You order room service for the first time in your life. The cheeseburger is $46. You pay it on the credit card the lawyer gave you that morning. You open your laptop. You type your grandfather's name into Google. The first result is his obituary in the New York Times. 3 paragraphs. Polite. Neutral. The second result is a Reuters article from 1988. The headline mentions an SEC settlement. The third result is a 2006 Bloomberg piece about his foundation. The fourth, fifth, and sixth results are about a class action lawsuit filed in 1994. Pension funds. $40 million. Settled out of court. You read for 3 hours. You build the picture. Slowly. Your grandfather did not steal money. Not technically. He used a financial structure, perfectly legal at the time, that quietly transferred risk from his clients to other people who had no idea they were carrying it. When the structure failed, his clients did not lose anything. Other people lost their pensions. School teachers, bus drivers, a union of janitors in Pittsburgh. He was never charged. He paid a fine,
He paid the settlement. He kept his license. He kept his firm. He kept his money. Your mother left him the year the lawsuit settled. Subscribe before you find out what happens when you finally call her. Level 4. The call. You call your mother. It is 11:40 p.m. Eastern. She picks up on the second ring. You can hear the TV in the background. The local news. You tell her where you are. You tell her what you know. There is a long silence. Then she says, "You don't have to take it." You ask her if you should. She says, "That is the wrong question." She tells you something she has never told you before. When she was 20, she sat at a dinner and watched her father explain, without shame, without irony, in front of two of his colleagues, exactly how the structure worked, how it would never touch them, how it was never their problem. She tells you she walked out of that dinner. She tells you she never spoke to him again. She tells you she has spent 30 years building a life where the money she had came from things she could explain. To herself, out loud, in the daylight. She says, "The question is not whether you should take it. The question is whether you can spend it." Level 5. The question. You go back to Mr. Sumner's office the next morning. He is not surprised to see you. You tell him you have one question. He nods. You ask him, "Did my grandfather know what the money cost other people?" Mr. Sumner does not look away. He says, "Yes." He tells you that in the last 15 years of his life, your grandfather donated $38 million to pension protection foundations, quietly, anonymously. He never put his name on a building. He never gave an interview. You ask, was that enough?
Mr. Sumner says, "That is not for me to decide." Level 6. The letter inside the folder. There is one more thing in the folder. An envelope, sealed, addressed to you in handwriting that shakes slightly. The lawyer leaves the room. You open it. 3 pages, single-spaced. He writes that he is sorry he never met you, that he does not deserve to have met you, that he wanted to write you many times over the years, but could never find a sentence that did not feel like an insult. He writes that the money is yours, unconditionally, that you can give it away, that you can burn it, that you can keep it and never think about him again. He writes that he has spent his last decade trying to understand a question he never asked when it would have mattered. The question is, what is wealth for if the people you love cannot look at you? He writes that he does not have an answer. He signs it with his first name. Level 7. The choice. You stay in New York 3 more days. You walk past the apartment that is now yours and do not go inside. You drive to the house in the Berkshires and sit in the driveway for 40 minutes without getting out. You go home to Cleveland. You take the money. You take all of it. You do not pretend you would not. But you also do something nobody tells you to do. You hire your own lawyer. You spend 9 months structuring what comes next. You set aside enough to buy a small house, pay off the loans, and breathe for the first time in your adult life. $640,000. You take the rest, $1.4 million, and you put it into a pension restoration fund for the people your grandfather hurt. You do it quietly. You do not put your name on it. You do not write an article about it. Level 8. What wealth actually is. You are 31 years old. You live in a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. You drive a used car.
You wear clothes that cost what they cost. You see your mother once a month. You have never told her what you did with the money. She has never asked. You think about your grandfather almost every day, not with anger, not with forgiveness, with something else, with the recognition that he gave you the only inheritance he could actually give, which was the chance to make a choice he never made. You realize eventually that wealth is not what you have. Wealth is what you can look at without flinching. That is what your mother spent 30 years trying to teach you. And it is what a dead man in a Madison Avenue office tried to tell you in 3 handwritten pages. Too late for him, but maybe just in time for you. This is the architecture of wealth. This is what it actually costs. Subscribe if you want to know what comes next.